को अपनाए, ध्यानी बन जाए। सांस 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 को अपनाए, सांस को अपनाए, सांस को अपनाए, ध्यानी बन जाए। सांस को अपनाए, ध्यानी बन जाए। ये दुनिया कैसे बदलेगी हमसे, हमसे। ये दुनिया कैसे बदलेगी हमसे, हमसे। हम खुद को कैसे बदलेंगे ध्यान से, विज्ञान से, आत्मज्ञान से। खुद को जानो, तुम क्या हो पहचानो। तुम क्या हो, तुम क्या हो, तुम क्या हो, तुम क्या हो। सांस को अपनाए, ध्यानी बन जाए। 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 तुझ में मुझ में क्या अंतर है, पशु पक्षी भी जीव है। तुझ में मुझ में क्या अंतर है, पशु पक्षी भी जीव है। जीने का हक सबको है, हम सब सारे एक है। ध्यान कर, शाकाहारी बन, आत्मज्ञानी बन। खुद को जानो, तुम क्या हो पहचानो। तुम क्या हो, तुम क्या हो, तुम क्या हो, तुम क्या हो। ध्यानी बन जाए, बन जाए, बन जाए, बन जाए। ध्यानी बन जाए, बन सांस को अपनाए, ध्यानी बन जाए।
There is a lot of pressure and competition in the world of acting. These actors find meditation helps keep them happy and relaxed. Jennifer Aniston. Friends star Jennifer Aniston has said that meditation has really changed everything in her life. Talking about meditation, she says, 20 minutes, you just notice the difference. When I get lazy and don't get it in, I can feel a difference in the day. So I try to meditate first thing when I wake up. Eva Mendes. Eva Mendes says that meditation gives her a sense of serenity and a calm state of mind. It helps me deal with life's ups and downs, coming from more of a centered place. Gwyneth Paltrow. Gwyneth Paltrow from Seven and Iron Man has launched a lifestyle website called Goop. Goop has multiple articles on the benefits of meditation and donates money to a non-profit meditation foundation. Liv Tyler. Liv Tyler is a big fan of meditation. She says, meditation is an incredible way of centering myself, of calming myself, and really getting perspective on where I am. Cameron Diaz. Cameron Diaz says that it is so simple to learn and practice, saying, the amount of restoration that comes to you, benefit across your life, well, it has changed everything. Nicole Kidman. Nicole Kidman says she has been meditating since her early 20s and tries to do a 20 to 30 minute session every day. Kate Hudson. Quietening the mind requires focus and stillness that are helpful tools in gaining greater self.
Broadcasting this program. I'm Saroja Gullapalli, and I'm connecting to you from Melbourne, Australia this evening. What a beautiful day it is, and how lucky we are to connect on this platform again in less than 24 hours. It has been 2 weeks since we have established this divine relationship between you viewers and me, where I have been visiting you every night to share the wisdom of the book, The Untold Story of Sita, in Hindi, English, and Telugu languages of wisdom sharing. Each one of us have experienced the divine energy of Mata with us non-stop during the 90-minute session every night for the last 2 weeks. In the last 2 weeks, these sessions have enabled us to travel to Treta Yuga every day. We have explored the palace of our Janak Baba and Sunaina Ma, ventured in the Videha forest along with Mata, traveled to Ayodhya and walked the streets of Ayodhya with Soma, been to Sarayu River and joined the beautiful ladies singing the chanting every morning for Mata, and what not. The one and only soul that made this all possible for us, my dear friends, is none other than Madam Dana Merriam, the author of this great, wonderful, and magnificent book, The Untold Story of Sita. My heartfelt gratitude to Dana Madam for giving us this jewel. My deepest gratitude to the universe for giving me the opportunity to share the wisdom of this book with millions around. These sessions have given me nothing but that all-encompassing love from all over the globe, to the extent that my viewers believe that I must be Soma in my previous incarnation. It gives me great pleasure to share with you all that we have Dana Merriam Madam with us on this platform today. Though she needs no introduction, it's my honor to say a few words about her. Dana Merriam Madam is the founder and convener of the Global Peace Initiative of Women, GPIW, bringing spiritual resources to address critical global challenges such as conflict, social justice, and ecological scarring of the earth. Over the years, she has worked to bring greater gender balance and balance between Miriam served as vice chair of the Millennium World Peace Summit of religious and spiritual leaders held at the United Nations in New York in the year 2000. She subsequently convened a meeting of women religious and spiritual leaders in Geneva, and from that gathering founded the GPIW in 2002. One of the objectives of GPIW is to explore how meditation and contemplative practices are reshaping the spiritual landscape of our society. For over 40 years, Madam Dana Miriam has been a devotee of Paramhamsa Yogananda, a practitioner of Kriya Yoga meditation, and a student of the great texts of Vedic tradition. Madam Dana Miriam received her master's degree from Columbia University in sacred literature. She has served on the boards of Harvard Center for the Study of World Religion, All India Movement for Seva, the Gross National Happiness Center in Bhutan, and in 2014, she received the Nivano Peace Prize for her interfaith peace efforts. For all her adult life, she has been a devotee of Sri Ram and Mata Sita, but it was not until she started writing this great book that she came to feel a personal relationship with them. They became very real living guides for her. She found herself basking in their presence, seeing them behind closed eyes, listening and reflecting deeply on the words she was hearing and recording, talking to them and trying to understand with her intellect what was being revealed in her heart. So that is our Dena Madam. It also gives me great pleasure to share with you all the presence today of our own Pitamaha, Brahma Shri Patriji, on this platform today, who is the founder of Pyramid Spiritual Society's Moment. Year 2020 marks the celebration of 30 years since establishment of Pyramid Spiritual Society's Moment, which has tirelessly worked towards spreading Anapanasati meditation, vegetarianism, spiritual science, and beneficial uses of pyramid energy to one and all. According to our Patri sir, year 2020 is the year of Sita Ma. He mentioned in one of the Zoom conferences last week that this book, The Untold Story of Sita, has brought a shift in his consciousness, and whoever comes across this book would definitely go a shift in their consciousness too. It gives me great pleasure to share with you all the work that is in progress for the close alliance of PSSM and GPIW for a common vision. Dana Miriam, Madam, has agreed in principle to translate her books in other languages in India, like Telugu, Hindi, and Kannada languages. Also, she has agreed to come as a speaker for the first ever Digital International Yoga Day that we are planning on 21st June 2020. She is also had accepted to be a guest for our annual International Mahila Dhyana Mahachakra that we are all looking forward eagerly this year in December. And when she comes over, our Patriji will definitely take her around for a good travel around the country to show her all the big and small pyramids that our PSSM has put so much effort in. My dear viewers, I would like to invite along with you all our beloved Patriji and Madam Dana Miriam onto this platform.
Okay.
Namaste, Madam Dana Miriam.
Namaste, Suraj. That was a wonderful introduction. Thank you very much. You described my life very well.
Madam, it gives me great pleasure to really talk about you today, because in my heart, I have been connected to you since this great book fell in my hands. And I will be short of words. This is not, I know that this is a talk that I'm supposed to leave the platform open between you and Patri sir. But before I hand it over to Patri sir, I cannot tell you what this book has had effect on me. Many times while I was reading your book, Madam, I have gone into trance. And I don't know how long I have stayed in that trance. Every day in my wisdom sharing, how many people have gone into trance along with me. And thank you very much for bringing this jewel to our hands.
Oh, this gives me such joy. This gives me such joy because as I was experiencing it, as I was writing the book, I was so much in the presence of Sita and Ram. And I just said, if I can contribute in any way to others having that experience, my life's goal will be fulfilled. So thank you.
Madam. Not one soul, to millions of souls that I'm connecting every night. The kind of feedback I'm receiving from all around the world. It's a joy, madam. It's a beautiful love that I'm receiving through your book. Sir Patri sir, you're here on the platform. I'm sure you would love to have a conversation with Dina, madam. And our viewers are all waiting for you two great masters to have a great conversation.
No, I want you to have a conversation with her first. I would like to hear that. Please shoot. Begin your conversation with her. I have had my conversation with her a couple of days back. So you please begin to have your conversation.
Okay, I wanted to say that my experience in writing this, there was so much to say about that, really so much to say about that. But one of the great teachings was the absolute outpouring of love. That is who Sita is, that is who Sri Ram is. You know, we tend to think of Ram as duty. I think people think of Dharma as duty, but I experienced it as pure love. And they were there. It's as if they're just diffusing this world in love now to help with the upliftment of humanity. We know we're in a kind of an evolutionary point now where we have to grow, we have to evolve in order to get to the next level. And their presence now in sending this love into the world is absolutely such a gift, and what we all can experience at this moment.
We can really feel it, madam. Not only through book, even when we are not reading the book and we are just talking about those episodes that you have depicted so beautifully, we can live through every scene. Through you have really taken us to Treta Yuga. And on the streets that you walked in Ayodhya, I've never been to Ayodhya, madam, but through you, I feel that I have walked the Ayodhya streets. Through you, I feel that I've been to Raghunath temple. And when you were putting your head down on the ground, I saw myself in you. And I went back into Treta Yuga. I get very emotional on this subject, madam, and all my viewers know how connected I am to your book. I have no understanding why, but every time I open my mouth, every word that comes out of this book resonates every cell in my body, and I know why it is. I know all the answers, but amazing experience, madam. We just can't explain how thankful we are for giving us this jewel, honestly. And one thing I wanted to share on this platform, madam, Patri sir, please jump in whenever you want to, but I will just like to continue this.
Go ahead. This is your show. Yeah.
The cyclic moment of time. Dina, madam, we have heard about this yuga several times in the past. Fortunately, we all come from a tradition that we know, not all, but at least to some extent about, the Vedic text. And we do understand yoga, the yugas. But the way you have explained the cyclic moment of time, which stole my heart. And I promise, madam, the way I have explained to every viewer, they all thoroughly know what exactly you meant by the cyclic yuga. I drew pictures and I showed them because I'm an engineer by profession and I have a logical mind on one side. So I was so passionate with having that beautiful picture which showed that as we get closer to the galactic center of magnetism, I had never known that concept before, madam. The way you explained, as we move closer to the galactic center of magnetism, and what correlation that has with the yugas from Satya Yuga to Treta Yuga, to Dwapar Yuga, and to Kali Yuga. And that explained the one question I always had, madam, because I thought, why in Kali Yuga people have to be so much all outwardly? Why can't we be inwardly? What have Yuga to do with our understanding? But actually, madam, now I don't feel that guilty. I can just always say that, yes, because in this Yuga, we have moved a little bit further from galactic center of magnetism. That explains, I mean, I'm not using that as an excuse, madam, but it's such a profound way of explaining that why people in Satya Yuga were so much with that spiritual wisdom. And you so beautifully described that the nature around, you talk to mountains, you talk to rivers, you talk to streams, they all had the divine energy that they would just come out and easy to communicate. And as you keep going from Satya Yuga to Treta Yuga to Dwapar Yuga, how that bit really keeps, sorry, madam, I get very, very emotional and excited when I talk about this cyclic moment. And I have to tell you, all my viewers have expressed this, that they never had this great understanding. Would you want to say something about that, madam?
Well, I want to say that many of us, most of us, lived at that time. So I think what the book does is it evokes your own memories. They may not be concrete, but as you said, you were living in the Treta Yuga. That's what happened to me. When I was writing this, I was living in the Treta Yuga, and I could see the difference in consciousness between that time and our time. And it's like I didn't want to come out because I could perceive the difference in consciousness. And the Vedic seers, it was a science. They knew from the position of the stars where we were within our galaxy, and so they could map out how the consciousness changed as we circled through the galaxy, because there's constant movement. Nothing stays in place. We're constantly moving. So there are times when we're closer to the magnetic center, and of course, the scientists today don't know what that magnetic center is. But I believe at some point, and this wisdom becomes accessible over a long period of time in Earth years. That magnetic center is a center of love. Love is what holds everything together, and it manifests as magnetism in the atomic world. But the whole universe is upheld by love. That's the very structure in which keeps it all going. And it's funny because that's something that's very difficult to say out in the world today, right? You can't talk about love. but we've all experienced what that's like, and so it's important for us to recall those memories now. And that's one of the things I hope that the book did, is that people can again remember what it was like to live in that higher age, when there was much less focus on material possessions and all the things that all the unnecessary things that we've created in our world. And there was deep joy just in the being with the beauty and purity of the natural world, which was much more lush at that time, because we hadn't destroyed it.
That's true, madam. But something that you mentioned in the book that really made me think as well as we move along is, you did mention in one of the commentaries that Sri Rama and Mata Sita, as avatars of the divine consciousness, their main responsibility is to preserve that which has created by aiding the unfolding of the outer and the inner worlds, preventing them from self-destruction. It is such a great concept, madam. The things that we are doing in the current moment or in the present world, we don't even know what kind of destruction that is leading to. Your book has unfolded so many things, madam. Whenever I do my wisdom sharing, what I love to do is I read a paragraph from your book, and I then start trying to compare or relate, or in relation to our life today. And every word that you have said, madam, we can relate it to what's happening today, whether it be nature, whether it to be the way how we hoard things. I was so overjoyed when I was sharing with my viewers the other day about what Sita Ma's message was about the balance in the nature, and that it is the greed that leads to lack. If we let the nature do its job, then we have enough for everything. It is the human greed that really causes the drought and the famine and whatever we see. And Dana, madam, this is so apt because of the current circumstances of COVID that we are living in. Just before when the COVID lockdown happened, madam, the greed or whatever it is, the hoarding that took place, there was nothing available outside. This is how we create scarcity, and how beautifully you have explained in that book, madam. I would really like you to explain that a little bit more.
Well, it's people who, everything also in the higher ages, this is particularly true in the Satya Yuga, that the power of the mind, the power of thought, the power of word. I've just finished another book, which is about the time of the Vedas, the Satya Yuga. And as I'm writing it, the power of word was so well understood. There was not any frivolous words. That the mantra, everything was created by mantra. Things were brought into being by mantra. So whatever was needed, you could create by using the power of vibration. How far we've come from that when you think of how words are, the kind of words that are thrown around today, the words of hatred and all that. So we can create if we know ourselves. And Patriji said this in my conversation and the other day, on YouTube that I listened to, that we are the creators. We don't know that we are the creators. And one of the things that I've discovered in my whole journey of these writings is that we create our situation. There's nobody judging us. We ourselves are creating life after life after life. Before I wrote the Sita book, I began to have many, many memories of my past births. And I was able to sequence them and able to understand the law of karma, which has always been an interest of mine. How does this work? Who determines what? And I came to see that we are the drivers of our own ship. We create everything in our life. Our past has created our present, and we are now creating our future. So we have to do it more consciously. And then when I was able to very much to my surprise to go back further in time, because in my first book, which is called My Journey Through Time, I went back 7 lives and was able to see such exquisite patterns. And I realized that if you stand above and look at your whole span of lives, it's miraculous. It's just incredible how people weave in and out. Things that you desired here come to fulfillment there. Dreams that you had there come to. It's just a magnificent weaving.
Beautiful, madam.
Yeah, and so then when I went back further in time and saw myself as the servant, and I said to myself, could this be true? I mean, the first time I started experiencing my past, I was a little bit of an investigator. I would check out things historically that I had seen, and just because the rational mind does operate, And then I said, I don't know, am I channeling this servant or was I, but I lived that life. I actually lived that life of Meenakshi. And I just accepted what does it matter? I'm in the presence of Sita. She's recalling all this for me. And so I had to just accept give up my questioning, really. But
I was about to ask that question, madam. I had that in my mind because I was asking you the question, which you answered me, that did you feel that you were channeling Meenakshi's energy while you were having this vision, or was it your really past life? But you've answered it so well. What does it matter?
I can't say for sure. I feel like I lived that life. I actually, in writing it, relived that life. And whether I was channeling that Meenakshi or whether that had been a previous birth of mine, I can't say for sure.
Madam, something that you mentioned in your book, which whenever I read this paragraph, I don't know, madam, I just can't speak words, but I just want to share that. And because I think that's got so much value as we move forward. So if you just bear with me, I want to read this, what has really blown me away. At the end of part 1, you mention that one life falls away and leaves its imprint in the sand, giving rise to another life, taking along the memories which do not die, which are not washed away. They simply sink to the bottom of the mind sea and rest there, folded in the many layers of mental sediment, until called forth upon to help the soul on its journey towards full awakening. And after that, madam, when we enter into part 2, this paragraph can be referred everywhere, because when Anasuya comes into existence, she just pulls those memories from the sands of time, and she has no idea. She doesn't know if it's instinct. And madam, that makes me feel that every day, the number of instincts I have, and because we all have this logical mind, we are lost in thinking, where did I get from? Is it my imagination? And I think it's time we put that questioning to rest and believe on those intuitions. I really want you to elaborate a little bit about that beautiful paragraph which you put in the book, madam.
Well, as I've recalled, going back 7 births, I've seen a little part of myself. I've retained a little part of that life. I've retained a little part of that life. I see myself in all of them, and I'm the composite of it all. I'm the composite of it all, and I'm none of it, because at the end, we have to awaken from the dream of personality, yes, from the dream of life. So we know that we're not that personality, and yet as long as we're living in the dream, we are a compilation of all those personalities. And so I see a little bit of Meenakshi in myself. I see Anasuya. I see, and all the lives that came after that. I mean, to me, it's an ongoing journey. As I said, I've gone back now to the Vedic period because I've been living for several months now in the Vedic period by the river Saraswati. And that's been an incredible experience because it's very much linked to what came after, to Ram and Sita. Everything is linked to everything else. That's what I mean. It becomes this most magnificent weaving. You can go back so far in time and it's all connected, you know.
So if you don't mind, madam, can I ask you, what did you mean by you're living in the Vedic period? Can you expand that a little bit for our viewers, please?
Well, I've found a life of mine in that Vedic period, around 8,000, 8,500 BCE, and it was a very, very beautiful time, a very beautiful time by the Saraswati River, coming out of the forest. I was a forest, lived in a forest clan, and then was brought out and got integrated. That's when the society was coming together, where the clans were coming together, and the Vedas were the foundation of that society. It was Satya Yuga, and I see how I don't want to. I've just finished the book. I'm still in that state. But it was, everything is so connected to everything else. That was the reason why I got pulled back into that time. Was when the curse was given. You know, Soma was. Meenakshi was born into a family that was cursed, that
Yes.
had been given a curse, and
Yes.
when I wrote the book, I didn't know what the origination of that was, but this happened to me when I was in India. I was in Varanasi a year ago. I was visiting the Kashi Vishwanath temple, which I had visited before, but had been cleared away, and you could see all of the spires. And I went into a trance there, and then I began to be drawn back into this Vedic age, and I saw that was when that soul, Meenakshi, received the curse from a Naga for some reason, which is in the book. So
Right.
everything is connected to everything else. And she was blessed by a sage there that the curse would come to fruition at the most auspicious time. And another blessing came where she was able to serve Sita. So the curse came, but also the blessing came, that she was able to be born in that particular moment into a family, a cursed family, to fulfill the curse, but the blessings of being in the service of Sita.
Yeah. So madam, that shows that, you know, when you look through the tunnel vision, you do not understand the big fabric of the law of karma going through multiple incarnations. When you look through the tunnel vision, the things that may look like a curse may turn into a blessing. So, you know, I think the lesson for us is, don't just look from that tunnel of time, having narrow vision, because you do not know what good is going to come out of everything. Isn't it, madam?
Absolutely. Everything can be turned into a blessing. And I think the most important thing is to be attuned with the higher energies, and to have the intuitive mind to be as much a present as the rational mind, because the rational mind has a certain function in terms of navigating our physical world. But the intuitive mind connects us with the spiritual truths. And to really understand one's life, you have to, even if you cannot have the concrete memories, intuitively know that these patterns are all working out for one's gradual awakening.
Yeah, madam. I think we have lived, at least, you know, for most of us, we have lived enough through rational mind for quite some time in the near past. And I think it's time.
We see where it's brought us, you know, to
Yes.
near destruction, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And something that you mentioned, madam, about the power of words, which you were discussing just a while ago, back in Satya Yuga, the mantras, the power of those mantras that came out of those sages' mouth, they were like the blessings and the curse for the society as well. Like they would be the binding words for the society. But at that time, the sages had like a selfless heart. It was all for the welfare of the humankind. And as they moved from Satya Yuga Treta Yuga, slowly they could not go beyond self-interest and those little, whether you call negative emotions. So the words had power, but from where they were coming was not a selfless heart. And that dimension that you have explained, that was wonderful. And how Janak Baba came up with that self-governance, the idea about self-governance, because you can't leave everything in the hands of sages, because the thinking is moving on. Again, back to your time cycle, madam, the way you explain is as you move away from the galactic center of magnetism, people are moving away from their inner self, and hence the society, including everyone, the change.
What I saw in the Satya Yuga, in my recent writing, was there was much less sense of individuation. It was much more of a collective mind. So as people lived in these small forest communities, there was a much greater sense of a collective. You did what's good for the collective, and much less I want, I need, I'm going to get. But with the over time, that individuation became stronger, and individual desires became the motivating factor, rather than what was in the best of the collective good. The collective good meaning the whole of the environment, and not just the human community. And so the ego was then being developed, and there may have been a need for that, in terms of human development. But it got to a point where such an extreme that now we see what a mess we're in, because greed is the dominant force in the world today.
That's so true, madam. And I think it's the connection we have lost with nature. And Ma Vasundhara, as you have kept repeatedly saying, when you read the part 1, which is childhood of Sita Ma, one thing that comes across so clearly is what is missing in our lives today. We do not see ourselves as part of that big fabric that connects us to everything else, part of the manifested or unmanifested world. Each one of us, we feel like we are a separate unit, a separate being. And I think there are multiple dimensions to it. On one hand, we all feel that we are so isolated and we feel lonely. But on the other hand, we are not even trying to come out of this loneliness to see that we are not alone. We are part of this big fabric. And when you read that part 1, my heart just melted, reading those incidents about when Sita Ma was less than a year. She could feel the pain of that furry animal in the forest. I mean, she couldn't even walk properly, but look at her heart. I mean, look at her connection with nature. And as we have moved along this descending arc, I don't know where we have left that, madam. I'm hoping, the hope that you have given us, that we have gone past the descending arc, and now we are entering the arc.
I think that's one of the purposes of COVID, actually. You get hit on the head, and if you don't wake up, you get hit again. And if you don't wake up, you get hit harder. And it took this little microscopic virus to make everybody stop and pause. And, in the US, it's very painful to say, but what these meat industries are like, the way the animals are treated. No demon could think of a worse way to treat these animals, the way that they're killed and I mean, it's just horrendous. And yet, to me, it's hard to accept that human beings would do this to our brethren. And so until there's a deeper understanding of interconnection, really what that means, we use the word, but until we act in such a way that we understand it, and I think that's the crisis now. And I know that on the conversations that I'm having every day with people through Zoom, so many people are saying, okay, this is going to be the wake up. People are going to realize it. But we just hope that, when it passes, people don't go back into the old habits of destroying the environment and treating animals with such atrocities, really, that we just have to pray that this is the wake up, that people, more and more people will understand.
Yeah, one thing we are seeing, madam, fortunately, we are under the umbrella of such a great master, Patriji, who always keeps us on our toes, helping us, guiding us to go deep within us. So that's a reminder for all of us. And I'm quite happy to share with you that I, along with many brothers and sisters of this world, we are really enjoying this time of lockdown. I have never been this busy in my life, Dana, madam. My schedule is like 24/7 full. And the other day, my husband was saying that I had more time with you before the COVID. You must be the only person. I said, no, this is the time to go within. This is the time so much to help the world. What is your reaction, and what are you seeing around the world, madam?
Oh, when I talk to our spiritual community, everybody's experiencing that way. It has been it's been a gift in my mind, being able to, having to stay at home. I've been writing for hours and hours a day, just living in that reality, and was able to finish my book. And so to me, this has been such a gift. I'm able to tune into the collective suffering because every day I just kind of tune into what's happening. I'm an hour outside of New York. And so there's a lot of suffering going on there. So it's both using the time to remain inside and to in that higher state of consciousness, and yet connecting with what's happening for others, and seeing how we can get others to make, how we can really make the change. We have to come out of this with some changes. The society has to be reshaped, so that we're not, putting poisons in the air and living such stressful lives. We have to find a way to use this opportunity to make significant changes in the way we live.
Yeah, on that note, madam, I have to go back to your book again, because there are jewels there that has really touched my heart. And when we go back to part 1, madam, where Sita Ma's attachment to Vasundhara Ma, the Mother Earth, is shown. And this is one of the excerpts from that, which I would like to share now. She says, this is just before her Swayamvara. I mean, she has got her Swayamvara happening in the evening, and that morning she's helping the farmer with the plow in the field. And she picks up this soil from the ground, and it's such a beautiful incident. She says, look at Vasundhara Ma, the gift she has given us. There is vital life in this soil that prevents illness, that keeps our body well, life that we cannot see or touch. As long as we keep our soil pure, disease will stay away. This is the gift of Vasundhara Ma. And saying that, Sita Ma's face is glowing as she lifts handfuls of dark, rich soil and rubs it against her cheek, and then kiss the very dirt that gives us life. And she says, how little do we think of where our food comes from? How little do we appreciate this treasure this Vasundhara Ma has given it to us. Madam, what a beautiful way to show that how little we have connection with Vasundhara Ma. We are not treating our mother the way we should be treating. I mean, would anyone treat the mother the way we are treating now? And what a great way Sita Ma is telling us. If you keep it pure, then diseases will stay away. Such a small common sense is not getting through us. Could you please elaborate on that, madam? This is such a passionate one for me.
I came to see, these are in the early agricultural societies, agriculture, the growing of food was a gift. It was looked upon as a gift. It was the sun, it was the rain, it was the water, the rivers. When Janak Baba was taught by the rivers how to use the river water during the time of drought. All of nature works with us. When we're in harmony with nature, nature works with us. I think that is such an important thing to remember, because we're so out of harmony with nature. So nature is not supporting us. We're talking about droughts and in the US we have droughts, in the West we have flooding in other parts. It's because we're so out of touch. We've separated ourselves so much. It's craziness. I mean, it's like the human mind has gone crazy to think this way. And so coming back just to the basics, I mean, the soil in itself has microbial life in it, that if we don't put toxins in that destroy all that life, we have to work with the soil to on its own without putting in destructive elements, toxic elements. And so getting back to the basics of healthy soil and healthy water is, I think, the calling of the human community right now. I mean, that's what I mean, a dramatic shift We have to take away from industrial agriculture, and back to being in touch, being able to touch the soil, connecting again with it. I mean, I have a large garden. It gives me so much joy, really, just to forget my mind and go out and plant my plants and look at the plants and work with the plants. I mean, this is a basic thing that I think we have to get back to.
Absolutely, madam. The connection with the nature, connection with the Mother Earth, we all need to revive, madam, just to go back to the basics where we came from. Madam, I would like to dawn upon something that is very dear to our Patri sir and me too, and I don't think I can forget about this. We get a lot of great books from our Patri sir, and this jewel honesty came through him to me, and we both have enjoyed one part of this book, madam, which is the celestial wedding of Sri Rama and Mata Sita towards the end of the book. Because honestly, I haven't come to that part with my viewers. So my viewers must be thinking, what is she talking about? Viewers, you have to excuse me. Dena madam is here. So we might have to skip a little bit beyond where I left you. But Patri sir and myself, we have talked about this so beautifully explained, madam. They're all the sages, the celestial being, they're all there. And this heavenly, this Sita and Sita Mata and Sri Ram's wedding, how beautifully explained, madam. This is our Patri sir's great scene too. We have tears in our eyes when we read that part. Could you please elaborate a little bit on that? What did you see really, madam, in your vision that you wrote? I would love to know that.
Well, I tell you, when I was writing it, and to me, I read the book again and again and again before releasing it. So I wrote it and then I read it again and again and again because I couldn't put it down. That always brought tears to my eyes. And what I saw was the love that Ram had for Sita was of such an intensity, the love that they shared, which again is a love for all of us. It's an inclusive love, was of such an intensity. He wasn't going to have her leave her physical form without a great celebration, a celebration of her sacrifices, because she made many sacrifices. Both of them did. I mean, that's what an avatar does. An avatar comes down and undertakes many sacrifices for the sake of humanity, for the sake of all life, not just humanity, all life. And so that was his gift to her, as he knew that it was time for her to depart her physical form. And so he invoked all the deities to come around and to celebrate them. And that was he wanted to send a part of himself with her back into their world. And so through this marriage, he was accompanying her and going back, even though he had to stay to complete his mission. He was accompanying her. So he gave her this, and the love that I have found, the love that is sent out into the world through this kind of event is beyond words, because it's never an exclusive love. It's always a love. I mean, I feel like I'm part of the love story of Ram and Sita. I'm included in that, That's a very personal love. It's not just these two beings. It's a love that I'm part of. And so I feel like I was part of that experience. And we all are. If we can tune into the vibration, that's the whole key, is what you tune into. If you tune into that higher vibration, and that love between Ram and Sita exists at this moment. It's not limited by time. It's an eternal event. So anytime you tune into that, you experience that tremendous outpouring. It's like the sun putting out its light. That tremendous outpouring of love can be experienced at any time because it's an eternal event.
I love the way you put it, madam. The same thing you expressed. You said, don't see this whole thing as something frozen in time. The love that we are talking between Mata Sita and Sri Ram, you can feel that love when you see it beyond their physical forms. And that's so true. We don't have to feel sad. I mean, you have been lucky to see them in vision. But for us, we are seeing them through you. And we do not have to feel sad, because that love that you're talking about, that you saw in your vision, we can feel it, madam. When I read this book, I could read like only one page a day. I'm being very honest, because the rest of the 23 hours I've been in trance. So I have enjoyed as much as you have writing this book.
There's a scene in my at the end of my new book, which goes back to that moment, I'm remembering the moment of that celestial wedding, and we're each able to get a blessing at that time. During that time, everyone can ask for a blessing, and so one of Ram's attendants, who becomes a very important figure for me later, not a Ram's attendant, one of the Rajas, another king's attendants, asks me, and I'm in the kitchen preparing the food, not participating in the celebration, and he pulls me out and he says, "You have to participate in this." And I said, "But there's so much work to be done to get the food." And he says, "Everybody is getting a blessing. What blessing do you ask for?" And Meenakshi says, "He's taking our beloved Sita away." She doesn't know that she's going to go. She's taking our beloved Sita away. The blessing I ask for is that I come to see him through her eyes, that I come to love him as she does.
Oh.
And I feel that was the blessing given to me, because my love for Ram is beyond expression.
Madam, when you say your love for Ram is beyond expression, I still remember that dialogue that you have written when, as Anasuya, or not as Anasuya, when you were having your vision at the Raghunath temple, and you were a little 5-year-old hiding behind your mother's sari, and then Sri Ram calls you, and then he has given you the blessing that, through him, you can get connection to Mata Sita and Sri Ram anytime in any life. What a blessing to have, madam. Those are things that are marked in red line in my heart. Like, what kind of blessing? Your blessing is just not limited with that one incarnation. It was a blessing given by Sri Ram.
It's an eternal blessing. It's an eternal blessing. And when I've looked at my lives since, especially in the first book, when I go back, in every life, there's always somebody to provide that awakening. There's always somebody. And I think we all have blessings. We just don't see them. The other big lesson for me in the writing of this was the consciousness of gratitude, because we all have blessings in our life. And I shared my experiences, knowing that everybody, so many of us were around at that time. I'm not the only one. There were lots of people who, citizens of Ayodhya, citizens of Videha, a lot of people were around, and they all received blessings. There are similar stories. We all have such stories to tell. I remember them, others don't, but it doesn't matter. I sometimes feel that I've gotten these memories just as to show others who can't remember that this is my story, is everybody's story, because we all have stories like this, whether we remember them or not.
Yeah, that's true, madam. Patri sir, that celestial wedding I know is your favorite scene. Would you want to say something about that, sir?
Not only the celestial wedding, but her final leaving the Earth planet. That's a great scene.
Yeah, in meditation. Yeah.
In that final moment, Rama comes and joins her.
Yeah.
Yes.
When she is departing from the forest.
Yes. That, though it's described so well, ma'am, we all feel so heavy-hearted when we come to that scene. We couldn't even turn the page. I don't know how many times I would have read it again and again. It was like so difficult to let Sita Ma go, who had kept so close to our hearts.
Oh, I absolutely know what you mean. I cried and cried. I have to say, I cried and cried. There were many times that I cried in the process of the book. But when she left the earth, it was, I cried for a long time at that moment.
Yeah.
Even though I saw the beauty of it, it was just, I wanted to hear her words again. I wanted more. I suppose that was greedy.
We are all greedy like you, madam. Through your book, when we come to that part, we feel, oh my God, then what? But then what makes us feel happy is that's okay. That's not something frozen in time. Sita Ma is with us. Sita Ma is in Mother Nature. Sita Ma is in Vasundhara Ma. And more I read that, madam, it's really sinking in with me. It's resonating with me. And I find it much easier now to understand. But the first time I read the book, it took me a long while to really accept that it was that Sita Ma was leaving her body. Dena madam, I would like to ask you one question. It might sound a bit silly, but this is a question I have in my mind, and I know a few of my friends back home also have this question. I know it doesn't matter, but because you're here, we have the privilege to ask. I will ask. Now, this book that you have written, madam, was it like someone telling you the story that you were getting a kind of intuition in words and you were writing, or you were really living the scene, you were seeing the scene and writing?
I was seeing the scene. I was actually and a lot of it came to me in meditation. It became a big problem, actually, because
nice problem to have, ma'am.
I'd sit in meditation, and as soon as I got very quiet, I would be back living these scenes, and I had to keep, and I'd be getting the conversation. I had to keep a pencil and pad by my meditation seat because I was afraid if I didn't record it, then I would wake up, I would come out and I'd say, oh, well, I can't remember exactly how it was. So I lived every word of that. I relived.
Fantastic, madam. This question I always had, so I thought I better ask you before we move on. And this connection of Sita Ma with the nature, I wanted to ask you this question. I do understand Mata being part of this Mother Earth and her connection, but what about the others at that time, madam? Did they also feel the same connection that Sita Ma was feeling in Mithila? Just out of curiosity, what was the general public attitude like?
Well, I think that there were other sages at that time, Sage Anasuya, who actually manifested a river. There's that story in there. So there were, in this Treta Yuga, there were quite a few sages who were helping with the evolution of society, creating the conditions where people could live happy lives. But the general population was at a simpler level. And so there was much deeper connection. I think simpler societies are very connected to the cycles of nature. But, they may have a simpler understanding. They may think, for example, the concept of the gods of Indra up there. It may be a more simplified understanding than of truly. I mean, my book that I've just written, I actually go into a lot about Indra because Indra represents the luminous mind, not a god up there sending down thunder and rain. Right, but this higher self, this luminous mind, comes to test the sages and yogis. But to the general population, they would have thought that was the god up there, withholding and sending the rains. So I think for the general population, there was a simpler understanding of the forces of nature, deifying the forces of nature. And of course, there are spirits. I mean, the rivers, there are deities. There are nature deities. There are deities in the rivers, and Sita spoke to those deities. But I don't know that the general population would have been able to speak to those deities.
Yeah. Madam, two things that kind of come out very clearly, which definitely, one I knew to some extent, but not to this detail till I read your book. And the other one absolutely was a revelation. One is about Lakshmana. When Lakshmana was hurt in the battle, and how Sita Ma in her astral form comes to protect Lakshmana, and in the whole process, how she has sacrificed her living years to Lakshmana. And that is something that just came as a big revelation through this book. And it shows the generosity of Sita Ma to the extent that she's given her lifetime, more than a couple of years from her life to Lakshmana. And that was something, madam, like that came totally cold to me. And the second one was the main reason about her second time when she moves on, when she's pregnant and she with Lavakusha and she goes to the forest, about the word that gave, or the curse from Bhrigam Maharshi and Khyati Ma. These two things like puts everything in place for us. And not only me, Madam, I'm kind of talking for so many, on behalf of so many. These are the two things that really come and hit us on the face. Like, so would you want to elaborate a little bit on those two things? Because those are two big revelations for us.
The second one is a very big issue for me because, it's interpreted very differently. But when I saw this with Sita, she was responding. I mean, she had great love for Lakshman, and she knew how much he meant to Sri Ram, and she knew how much he meant to the success of that mission. And she had to do what she could to keep him alive while Hanuman was bringing the medicines. And so she did what she could, keeping Yama away. And yet there's always a give and take. When if a master is relieving a student of some karma, that master takes some of that karma upon himself, but is better able to manage it. So there's a law within the karmic law of transference, that some karma can be transferred. And so she was able to prevent his death. And that to me was also very moving. And yet it happened just spontaneously. She was working on so many levels. I mean, in the traditional narrative, people think of Sita as the victim, right? She's kidnapped and she's languishing there. When is Ram going to come? And then she's banished. It's so different. I mean, she's Narayani. She's the force of the universe. So not to recognize her own power. So that was, the work that she did when she was in Lanka in terms of weakening Ravan's power so that Ram could do what he did, shows how these two principles of the male and the female work in complete harmony in a higher age. It's only in this lower consciousness that we've become out of balance and out of harmony. But the second thing about her banishment, scholars say that last episode was added at the end, it's in a different meter. And yet I did a conference on Sita in Varanasi last March in 2019. And I had many scholars saying that, but then there were others who kept going back. Well, Ram had to banish her because he had to fulfill his duty to, and I kept saying to them, he's the man of Dharma. He's the epitome of Dharma. Yes. A dharmic man is not going to banish his pregnant wife who's just gone through what she's gone through. That's not Dharma. Dharma is love. The essence of Dharma is love, not some self-imposed duty. I have to do this. And so what is the best model to show your people, to show as a king, to show your people? But there was this ancient curse due to this event that happened when there were the battle between the Devas and the Asuras. That was very far back in time, where Ram had accepted the curse in order to relieve Brigu, and Sita, when she was the daughter of Brigu at that time, accepted it as well, and so they had to fulfill that. It's like the curses had to be fulfilled, but they could be moderated, and his wife Kayati was able to moderate it so that it became a partial separation. And there were many benefits that came because her sons were able to grow up with love for the forest life, and she was able to be their main teacher. Whereas had they been in the palace, they would have been sent away, to study. So they received so much of her energy during their main growing up years, which they were able then to use when they became the rulers of the kingdom.
That's true, madam.
So it became a beautiful time in there. Even though you feel they're longing for each other, it also became a beautiful moment because they were each able to fulfill what they had to do. And then the part that I love so much is when Sita looks up and she sees that Brigu has received moksha. He's, the time of the curse is over. And so it was the love for that sage, the love for sage Brigu, to be able to help him fulfill what his words had spoken. Again, it was a time when the power of the word was such that it manifested. It had to come into, it's like you send a vibration out into the air. It's like a law of physics too. what you put out comes back, right? And when you send
That's
a
true.
vibration out, it has to find its fulfillment.
Thank you, Madam. Madam, at this stage, I would like to bring in one of our PSSM masters who's doing a great work at the moment, trying to, or she's just finished translating your book in draft form in Telugu. This is one of the dialects in India. It's from Andhra Pradesh called Telugu language. And this is Madam Swarnalatha Madam. So just to give a little bit of introduction, Swarnalatha Madam, she's been meditating for 23 years and she's a great meditator. She has done great work in translation. She's translated over 40 plus books into this Telugu dialect. And that includes Linda Goodman's books and Karma and Reincarnation, books by Torkam Saryadarian, and Buddha by Howard Curtis. And now she finds herself so lucky or so fortunate that she got the opportunity to translate your book, The Untold Story of Sita, in Telugu. And not only that, Madam, she has come all the way. She's in a small country town at the moment where the internet is not that good. And just to have this conversation on Zoom with you, she's come all the way to Vijayawada. So I will ask Swarnalatha Madam to share some of your experience, or what feelings did you go through when you were translating Dena Madam's book in Telugu. Swarnalatha Madam, over to you.
Namaste, madam.
I'm honored to meet you.
Thank you. Shall I call you once as Meenakshi?
You can.
Dear Meenakshi, I'm very happy to be with you. And all through the days, I am with you and with Sitama and with everyone on the book. Even in my sleeping state and in my awakened state, I am with you only with Sitama and with Rama, and everybody is surrounding me. They are with me, and I am not at all there in those 20 days with me. Those fellows, they came, they wrote, they went away, and they told, they corrected. I don't know what has happened. I'm just there as an alive body. That's all. The energy, the thing, see the emotions. I can't say emotions, the love, the deeper love. I felt it. And one more thing I have to say, the love for the earth, it is there from me, from the beginning of my life, it is there. I don't want even anybody to keep pesticide on the earth. Everything. Yes, it reminded me. I think I relived my life with that Sita in that nature. I'm very thankful to you to give me this opportunity, especially for Patri sir for giving me this opportunity. Throughout my life, I'll go on his feet. Thank you.
I'm so very grateful that you're translating the book so people will be able to read it who don't speak English. I really cannot express my gratitude. I mean, my hope is that people, as many people as possible today, feel this love from Ram and Sita that's continually pouring into the world, and that we have to tune ourselves into it in order to experience it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Madam, we have also got another great meditator. Her name is Kavita Gupta, and like how Swarnalatha Madam is translating into an Indian dialect called Telugu language, Kavita Madam, she's continuing with translating your great book in Hindi language. So just to tell a little bit about this Madam, she's a great meditator, and she's a role model for other women in the community. She has received great accolades for her entrepreneurship and social work, and she is a disciple of our Guru Brahmarshi Patriji, who has motivated her to teach meditation to the whole community. So I'd like to invite Kavita Madam onto the platform. Kavita Madam, over to you. You can share your experience, or if you have any questions with Dena Madam. You're doing such a great job translating this book. Over to you.
Ma'am. And I'm so glad, I'm so privileged, feeling so honored that I can connect with the Dana Maria Madam also. And I really wanted to, Patri sir, and my special thanks, Patri sir, who introduced this book to me. And the best part, in fact, after reading the book, when I called sir, I really wanted to know how he came to know about this book. And that was also so beautiful when sir told me that when he was, it says, has a habit to gift books to people, to the audience, so to meditators. But sir said one day one small girl came to him and said, "You gift books to others. You read this book. This is my gift to you." And a young girl, some small girl came to him and gifted this book to him. And I said, definitely, this was the energy of Mother Sita who came in the form of a little girl and gifted this book to the entire India. Because after reading this book, I was so happy. I was overwhelmed. I was mesmerized. And that was something I really felt, yes, this is the true Ramayana. This is what it has to be. Actually, it is so authentic. Doing our Narayan, the divine union of Narayan and Narayani, whatever happened, what we read, being her, be, where she's been portrayed as a victim, which was kind of, not acceptable. I really felt sad, how Sita was suffered throughout her life. And after reading this book, the entire perception has changed. And I could feel that every moment. And I think the maximum part, Sarojana, my big thanks to you too. The way you have expressed, the way you have, it's a great gratitude to you too. And it's lovely hearing you also. And we could connect to it. And we could really felt, and thanks to Mariam, and you have covered almost all the points, all the questions have been answered. Like whatever I was thinking, for me too, the best part of the book was the celestial celebrations, and that was out of the world. I could really felt connected, and every moment I really feel as if I was also part of it. And but man, one thing, the 2-3 things which I can also ask, I would like to ask. Then I marry a madam also, since we are all meditators here, and part of PSSM, where we promote vegetarianism. And one part of the book, you spoke about the words right now while having a dialogue with her. You spoke about the words, the power of words, how it, matters, our thoughts, our words. But at the same time, food, like, Patriji keeps saying, like our food, we have to be cautious. We have to be aware of what we are eating. Like when Sita Ma, she drank that water in Lanka, Sujata gave her the water to drink, and she could, see the illusionary things what Raman wanted to, show her. So that part was also so important. And that's a takeaway for the entire community, for our meditator community, where they can understand how important our food is. Whatever we eat, what we drink, how important it is. So that's one question which I want Madam also to speak few words about that. And other than that, second thing, since she has channeled the entire book, she could connect with the energies of Ma Sita and Sri Ram. So how we can, as a meditator, get connected, stay connected, and get attuned to those higher realms, higher energies with the ascended masters, with the goddesses, because we know Sri Ram and Mata Sita are like the most adorable characters of the entire India. Everybody loves them so much. And once they could know and understand that with meditation, they can know more about them. They can love them so much. So I think it will be a beautiful gift to the entire humanity. So I really want to know, since she has experienced it, she has channeled it. So what's her guidelines for all of us? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. I'm so grateful for your translation. I mean, I think that that's the challenge for all of us meditators. And that's why this time of retreat is so useful, because when we can withdraw ourselves from the world, the other reality becomes more real. It's only our engagement in everyday life that pulls us away. And the challenge is to maintain that state of mind, no matter what we're doing, right? To maintain that connection. And so I think that's the challenge for all of us. And that's why, for me, I can't imagine living without meditation, because that's the time that I reconnect. And if I can reconnect first thing in the morning, there's a much greater likelihood that I'll stay connected throughout the day. And so to me, that's the key, is meditation. Is to stay in tune with that higher reality.
And how not to get distracted and distorted by our the outer and the physical reality what we are living in.
I think we have to keep pulling ourselves back. I mean, there's so much negative energy going around, politically and violence. There's just a lot of stuff to pull us out, and it's easy to get caught in it. And I've actually limited, I used to be an avid reader of the news. I limit how much I take. I want to stay aware of what's going on so that you can, send positive energy, but not to the extent where you get sucked into it. So I think it's just trying to create that right balance between how present you'll be in the outer happenings and how much you can keep your center inside, connection to that. It's a balance that we all have to strive for day to day.
Yeah, it's so true, madam. I mean, we all know that when we are in meditative state or in meditation, focusing on our breath or whatever the meditation form is, that becomes easy because you're totally not connected to the external world. The real challenge stands when you get out of meditation and start interacting with the so-called physical world. And I think that's where the word awareness comes into picture. Then, be aware of what you're doing. Every moment awareness. And that's a great question from Kavita madam about how to make sure that we are on the track.
It's easy to get pulled away, especially now when there's so much fear, because of this virus that's circulating. And so it's easy to get caught up in that. So we have to continually awareness,
Yes.
kind of check our awareness.
Yes. Yeah. So I really wanted to share a little bit here with Kavita madam and Dena madam too. When we started this year 2020, madam, just around January end, I do some workshops online, and I had started Karma Yoga workshops sometime last year. So I thought I'll continue with Karma Yoga. But I was so surprised, madam, when I started jotting down the points for the Karma Yoga session 2 in February, my pen would not write Karma Yoga. It was writing awareness all the time. So I knew this message that I had to do workshop for awareness. And we started awareness workshop in end of January, and we kept doing it till April. And in between, this COVID thing has developed, and then the penny dropped. Why my pen was not writing Karma Yoga, it was writing awareness all the time. So great question, Kavita.
It was the demand of the time.
Exactly.
It was the demand of the time. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Kavita madam, I was totally unaware. I'm thinking I want to do Karma Yoga. Why this awareness? And I've done 20 workshops in the last 2 months on awareness, but now I know I have totally surrendered to the universe, because I know the master intelligence knows more than me. I've totally given up.
Exactly.
True.
Exactly.
True. We need to surrender. Yes.
Yeah, that's the key. I have discovered that. That is the key, is the rational mind can't understand it sometimes, but if you trust your intuition, you'll follow.
Yes.
Thank
you so
that's
much.
really working well, Kavita madam. Surrender is working
Thank
the
you
best
so
for
much.
me. I don't have to really
Yes.
think with my
That's a key for everybody, Saroja ma'am. That's a key for everybody, in fact. You have
Yes.
to allow yourself to flow with the flow.
So true.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kavita madam.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. My pleasure.
Dena madam, we have got another great master coming up. And like the other 2 previous speakers, this sir is also translating your book in another dialect in Indian language, which is called Kannada. So he's from state Karnataka in India, and he's Dr. Jeevandhar Ketapanavar. Very great master. We have spiritual magazines, which is called, Dhyana Bharat. So he's the founder, editor of that. And he's also has great role in the New Age spiritual magazines. He has done a lot of translation works of great spiritual books like Soul's Journey by Peter Rishalu. He's done that in Kannada, Pyramid Yuga, and then Breath and Meditation, Jnana Surya. So many great translation work he has done. And now he's doing this wonderful work of translating your book in Kannada. So I would really welcome Ketappa sir. Sir, over to you. Dena madam is there. You can express your experience and your feelings on this book.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much.
So nice
Madam,
to meet you.
namaste.
Thank you.
Madam, namaste, madam, namaste. It's a great privilege and honor to be with you, ma'am, and Brahmarshi Pitama Patriji and all in this divine meeting, madam. And really, to go through your book is itself a wonderful journey to us, madam. Thank you for that great journey you have provided in our life. And we feel great shift after that reading that book, madam. And thank you for bringing this book on the planet Earth, ma'am, please. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you for translating.
Yes, ma'am. And my earnest feeling is, madam, one should read this divine book as a minimum eligibility to be in public service. What do you feel, ma'am, please? Because in every aspect, from small work to big work, because there is no difference between any work, but how to give the service, how to render the service to the planet Earth, every guidelines are there in this book, madam, what I feel. Everyone should go through this book. Everyone should. I feel.
Thank you very much. I think that Sita, both Sita and Ram, but their life was the example of service. Everything they did was service. Everything they did was for the benefit of the whole. And to me, that's the purpose of them coming to Earth, is to be models for us. So, in the process of writing this, I've always been, a lover of nature, but I became much more conscious of how even just paying attention, being aware, as we just discussed, being aware was being in service to the natural world. And I think we have to expand our sense of community to include everything, to include the natural world, not just the animal and plant life, but the rivers too, the rivers and the mountains, the whole. We're all one. We're all connected to everything else. So we can be in service. It so much has to do with our thought and our intention. Just by feeling love toward a tree or the natural world, that's being in service to to this whole thing. To me, the greatest service is bringing that feeling of love into every place, into every interaction, whether it's with a human or whether an animal or a plant or the sky or the sun. I mean, I'm much more conscious of expressing love to the sun and to the moon these days, because we should have such gratitude, for the service they provide.
Yes.
So to me, service is expressions of love. How do we express that love?
Really.
Thank you
Ma'am,
so
one
much,
more.
Kettappa sir. Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Yes, please. Ma'am, the changes in you before writing the book and while writing the book and after writing the book, what do you feel, madam, actually?
Well, it was like Sita opened in me a spigot of love. She opened something in me. And so the experience was one of tremendous spiritual growth, actually. I say to myself, as many of you are saying, I was different before the book, I was different after the book. There was a sea change in my consciousness in the process. And there were so many aspects of that, as we've been discussing. But when there is deep love, one wants to be in service. It's not a forced thing. It's a natural outcome of that. Yeah, and to live in that state. And so, I've taken this love, this Ram Sita love, as my aspiration. That's what I want to manifest on Earth. It's very simple. What I want my life to be. It's all become very simple. I want to be a manifestation of that love that Ram and Sita showed to us.
Okay.
And that's how I feel. It's a very personal thing. As I said before, this experience of love with Ram and Sita is toward us. I mean, I feel like I love Ram as Sita did. I love Sita as Ram did. And so being part of that circle of love is the greatest joy that one can have and the greatest thing to aspire for. So to me, that's what my life is about now.
Okay. Kindly bless me, madam, to bring this book in the same vibration level, please. In the same vibration level.
I will ask Sita to bless you, to bring the book, bring her message through your translations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kettappa sir.
Yes.
Thank you very much. we have questions from the public that they have given us lovingly, so that we could ask you, Dana Madam. But before that, I would like to ask Patri sir. Sir, would you like to say something before we move on to the public questions and answers?
Yeah, I have a few questions to Dina ji. I want to know about her parents and her childhood, which she experienced, about her parents and her childhood, please.
Okay. My parents know very little about me. My family knows very little about me. They don't know that I write books. I grew up in a very secular Jewish home that was very much devoted to the arts. My father was involved with the arts. He was a businessman. He started a business. He brought all his children. Became a writer there, and but he was a very loving man and continually always encouraging me to write. Always encouraging me to write, and it was because of him that I got involved in the interfaith world. He was a good friend of the Secretary General of the UN, Kofi Annan, and when I became when I was young, I always had a spiritual desire, but my family was secular, and so I kept it to myself. I used to sit at night, even as a child, before going to bed, in prayer, but I didn't have the words. So it was my kind of like few minutes of meditation, just speaking out to the beloved. And I also saw the divine and feminine form, the divine mother. I always was searching for the divine mother. When I went to college and I read Yogananda's book at the age of 20, I said, oh my God, that's it. This is what I've always believed. I always knew that I had lived before. I was looking for the divine mother, and I wanted scientific practices to help me realize the truth. I didn't want dogma. I wanted scientific practices that I could do. So I started practicing meditation at the age of 20. My family was up in alarms because at that time meditation was not mainstream at all. They thought I had joined some cult or something. And so I kept it very quiet, away from my family. But then I got married. I had 2 children. I got divorced. I was supporting my kids. I had to go work for my father's company all the time, very seriously practicing meditation, several hours a day, studying the Gita, reading the Upanishads, Patanjali. So I was in my study period. And then when my Kofi Annan became Secretary General of the United Nations, he was a good friend of my father's. And the idea came to bring spiritual leaders to the UN to see how they could work with the UN. And my father offered me, he said, well, my daughter's so interested in spiritual matters, let her organize this. That's how I got involved in the interfaith world 20 years ago. But there were very few women there because they were big religious leaders. And the few women were not happy. And they said, we would like another summit where women have more voice. So we went back to Kofi Annan and said, the women want to have a second summit. And he said, that's a good idea. Go to the UN in Geneva, the Palais des Nations. So we did that. And out of that formed the Global Peace Initiative of Women. And everything came to me by surprise. I was a quiet yogi, never expecting to have a public role, very shy, much more of an internal person. I was a writer, I was a yogi. And then suddenly I'm thrust into the stage at the UN, bringing these religious leaders together. And then the women saying, well, we want to have a permanent organization so that we can do peace work. And so one thing led to another, but it was very much unplanned by my conscious mind. And throughout this time, I began having very concrete memories of my previous births. And it was rather disorienting because I actually relived those lives. It wasn't just, oh, yes, I lived in here and I did that and that. It was like going through all the experiences again. And every life has positives and negatives. Every life has traumas. But I got to see the connections and I got to see everything that led me up to the moment. I got to see that in the past, I had been doing peace work in various ways, and that it all led up to the moment. In the past, I had been very much struggled as a woman to find my voice because all the lives that I had seen, I had been a woman to find my own voice. And then by creating this Global Peace Initiative Women, I was able to bring to fulfillment that desire that had started in me many centuries ago. So I came to understand how this law of karma works. And of course, my family knows very little about this. They don't know about my books. They know that I spend a lot of time in India. They know that I have a guru. They know that I meditate. And that's become much more acceptable today. So they just know that, but they don't discuss it.
I would like to know your experiences in meditation, especially meetings with yoga and the Paramahansa, if any.
Yogananda. Well, in my first book, Journey Through Time, you know, as soon as I saw Yogananda, and somebody handed me his book when I was in college, I recognized him, and a deep love awakened in me, and I wanted to take Kriya, but there's a whole organization, and you had to wait and all of that. But I had an experience where Yogananda came to me in a dream and initiated me into Kriya Yoga. And then, of course, I also did it through the organization. But I've had many dreams of Yogananda. My relationship with him is very personal. It's outside of the realm of the organization. And then when I started remembering my previous birth, I had been born in Russia at the turn of the century, and I had been a refugee during the revolution and found myself in Europe, in Germany, when he was going back to India in 1936. He took one trip back to India in 1936. And he was giving a talk, and I briefly met him in 1936 and then I died soon after. But as soon as I met him, I met him in that life, and I had a desire, because I had come across the Gita in that life, and I was studying the Gita, and then I met him, and he was going back to India, and I wanted to get to America because I knew he was based in America. I very much wanted to get to America to learn meditation from him, but I got sick, and he came to me in a vision when I was sick, and he said, "I'm coming to take you to America." The war was raging, and it was very hard to get out, and I waited and waited for him to come to take me to America, and then I died. And as I died, I remember that death. When I died, he came to me and he said, I've come to take you to America. And in my journey through time, I describe that, and I describe my time between lives in the astral world. And then I felt him calling me, and I took birth. And he passed away a year later after I took birth. And so I remembered all that. And then I knew that wasn't the first time I'm meeting him. And I went back in time further to another life where I had been with him. He was William the Conqueror. I don't know if that's well known, but he was. It's well known among his devotees in England. And I was with him at that life. And then an earlier life when he was during the Mahabharata War, where he was part of that. And I was a citizen of Dwarka. This is all my history.
Wow,
so I met him at that time briefly, very briefly, just moments. And, for many, when I was 20 and I recognized him and realized he was my guru and that he had left his body, it was a very great sadness for me for many, many years. All my friends were running off to India to find their gurus. They said, you need a guru in the body. And I said, well, what can I do? My guru's not in the body. And then I realized it took me many years of meditation to realize it's an internal relationship, not an external one. The relationship with the divine beings is an internal one. You don't have to be in their physical presence. And that's with Sita Ma. It's an internal relationship.
Did you meet Lahiri Mahasaya, Yukteswar Giri, and Mahavtar Babaji?
I have had an experience with Babaji, yes, which is probably the most precious experience I've ever had in my life, in this life. Yeah.
Please.
He's my. I have such love. I said I don't distinguish between Babaji or Ram. To me, the love is the same. I have such love for him, for Babaji. I think of him every day.
Any question for me?
Tell me something about you. Yes. I don't know about your past. Tell me something about you.
I am a spiritual scientist. I read all the spiritual books from a spiritual scientific point of view. And I became enlightened because of that, my view. And I collect everybody's experiences. I teach meditation to everybody and collect everybody's experience. And that gives me a lot of knowledge. I am not a third eye master. I don't have any experiences in meditation. But I can understand everything about meditation. That must have come to me from my past lifetimes. My job, my passion is to teach meditation to everybody, every human being, and teach vegetarianism to everybody, and to bring pyramid energies to every home, and to make everybody understand the spiritual science. I am a teacher. My passion is for teaching. My passion is traveling and meeting all the people and teaching. I'm not a sitting yogi. I'm a traveling salesman for all people like you. That's why I get a lot of commission from you when I promote your book. I'm a salesman, ma'am, and a scientist. I'm not a third eye yogi. But it's my joy to meet all the third eye yogis. All pyramid masters are third eye masters, and it's a joy to be with them. And we hope to see a heaven on this earth planet within 10 years. That is the target. And this book, The Untold Story of Sita, I would call it as the Bible of PSSM. It has been my dream to get a beautiful book as a Bible. The first Bible came in last year by Ananda Karunesh, The Thousand Seeds of Joy, with the messages from Lakshmi and Saraswati last year. And after that, this book, both these books, The Thousand Seeds of Joy by Ananda Karunesh, messages of Lakshmi and Saraswati Ma, and this year, The Untold Story of Sita by the great master Dina Mariam. These two books are the Bible for Pyramid Spiritual Society movement, indicating a shift in consciousness from male chauvinism to female beauty, female wisdom.
What is the first book? I should read that first book. What is the book called?
It is called The Thousand Seeds of Joy.
1,000 Seeds of Joy.
By Ananda Karunesh.
1,000 Seeds of Joy.
Okay. Where messages came from Lakshmi and Saraswati.
Okay, I'll have to get that book.
And in that book, Lakshmi says some things when she was born as Sita. So,
okay.
1,000 Seeds of Joy by Ananda Karunesh. And as I was introduced to that book, I was introducing that book to the whole of PSSM. And we were so very fortunate that Sri Ananda Karunesh came by himself to Hyderabad to attend our Dhyana Yagnam. He was there with us for 2 days. It was such a joy to meet him. Now, immediately in this year, a lady gives me this book, Untold Story of Sita, and then I come to meet you. And you are PSSM, Pyramid Spiritual Society movement, has been built by me for the 40 years. We have got thousands and thousands of masters, third eye masters in our organization. They have all done a lot of work. They have written their experiences. They have translated books from other languages. They go to villages day and night, meet everybody. And Saroja Gullapalli is such a great master. And Pranalata madam, you just now met. And also Ketappa, Dr. Ketappa. We are so very happy that in the year 2019 and in the year 2020, we got two wonderful books, which I will call them as the Bible of PSSM. Messages from Lakshmi Ma and Saraswati Ma and Sita herself. So we are very, very grateful. We deserve your books. See, we are not ordinary people. That's why we got you. We have great pride in ourselves that we are not ordinary people. We are all great yogis. We have come here to purify the earth, to enlighten the earth, to remove all darkness, all the violence, all the killing of animals. And my resolve for myself is I will stay in this physical body another 70, 80 years to see that the last person also becomes a vegetarian. That is my resolve for myself.
Yeah.
This is a small thing about myself, ma'am.
I have a question. Yogananda also was very strong on the vegetarian issue. So from an early age, both meditation and vegetarianism were two pillars for me. But I was in Egypt a few times, and I did get to meditate in the big pyramid at the very peak, and I had a very powerful experience, very powerful. But I don't understand the science of it. Can you explain to me a little bit about why that structure is so powerful?
I leave that to my daughter. Parimala, join. Is she there? I don't know. Anyhow, this is the subject of sacred geometry. There are two types of geometry: asymmetrical, symmetrical geometry. Asymmetrical geometry has got less energy. Symmetrical geometry has got more energy. And among all the symmetrical geometrical structures, the pyramid has got the highest. And among all the pyramid angles, the 52 degrees angle has the highest energy as far as Earth planet is concerned. There is so much research going on all over the world on pyramid energies. Now we have got hundreds of scientists working on this pyramid energy. I came across a book, The Secret Power of Pyramids, in the year 1982. Before that, in the year 1980, I read the book by Dr. Paul Brunton, who spent one night in the Great Pyramid, Egypt, in the King's Chamber. Dr. Paul Brunton is the person who introduced Ramana Maharshi to the whole world.
Yeah.
And he spent one whole night in the Great Pyramid, Egypt. So there he had wonderful experiences, beautifully written in the book, A Search in Secret Egypt. So that was my first introduction to pyramids in the year 1980. Then in the year 1982, I read a small book, The Secret Power of Pyramids by Bill Schull and Ed Petit, two American masters, scientists. So then I was hooked onto pyramid energy. I did my own experiments with the small pyramids, keeping put a tomato inside the pyramid and then a tomato outside the pyramid and seeing the effects of it. So I replicated all the pyramid experiments in the year 1982-83 using small cardboard pyramids. Then in the year 1990, we could construct a RCC pyramid, 30 feet by 30 feet in my place where I was working in Kurnool. And that is the beginning point for this pyramid spiritual society movement. Now it is worldwide. Now there are 20,000 pyramids in 20,000 villages.
Amazing.
Yeah. And pyramids are wonderful things. Just the other day, I heard a small experience about the pyramid power. One guy lost his cell phone. It was found in the water for one day. After two days, he removed the cell phone and he kept it in the pyramid for one day. It started working again.
Really? Wow.
Only 2 days back, I heard this experience. So in my 30 years experience, I've heard many thousands and thousands of experiences of healing, of preservation, of meditation, whatnot. And I am only one person in the whole world. There are so many persons like me who know everything about pyramids. Pari,
Yes.
My daughter is there. Continue on pyramid energy.
Yes. Thank you. But first, before I say anything, I'm very, very grateful. We are watching this live. Everybody is watching. There are 100 people right now, 111. I just saw people watching. It's incredible. Thank you so much for Saroja madam, Dana madam, and Patriji to come here and do this for us. So pyramids, as the name Pyramid Spiritual Society's movement, pyramids has been the biggest influence in this whole movement. Because of the sacred geometry, as he mentioned, and the power. I mean, this is a very ancient technology that has been used in all the civilizations that we know: Atlantean, Lemurian, Sumerian, all the civilizations, and also been found in all other planets around the universe. And significance, it was found on Mars, Jupiter. In fact, there are photographs on NASA website. If you really dig deep, you will find these pictures, which are not being commercialized.
Interesting. So interesting. Wow.
Yes. And so the technology basically is works as an antenna to draw in the cosmic energy and create scalar fields, torsion fields, to amplify the prana, the orgone, or the chi, whatever we call it. And it has amazing benefits for meditation amplification, that for the experience amplification. People have known it for preservation. It was, and by the way, Giza was never found to host tombs or mummies in pyramids.
Right.
So the technology is basically to harness this cosmic energy and act as this antennas to be portals, different portals to switch, access different frequencies, dimensions. And
I get it. Yeah.
And as he said, there are thousands of people who have experienced this, not just in our movement, but across the world, and have documented the evidence of it. So so this is one of the most scientific part of the movement, because we are teaching spiritual science, and the science comes in when we talk about this sacred geometry.
You said it very well. Now I get it. Look forward to meditating in your pyramid.
Yes.
And Pari, tell about yourself, where you are born and all those things, how you got.
Yes. I'm gonna keep it short because we are almost at the end of the call. But I wasn't prepared for this. I wasn't prepared to be on screen. So I was born in Hyderabad to my wonderful parents. And then I grew up, I literally grew up. When I was born, I believe he was already in the path of his pursuit of purpose. He was already awakened, and he started teaching meditation. So as I grew up, I grew up learning about meditation. I grew up learning about the spiritual science. That was something always around me. And then we went to this place called Kurnool. It is a small town from where I lived. And this is the first place where the first pyramid came into place, and also the birth of Pyramid Spiritual Society's movement happened. And so I literally grew up, my home was this pyramid. So we meditated. My mother is a big serious teacher and serious meditator. So she would conduct workshops for everybody who would come there, for hundreds of people, with Mauna for a period of time, and also meditating like 10 hours, 12 hours, 16 hours.
Wow. Yeah.
So I grew up in that environment, and that was it was a very challenging thing, but also we enjoyed doing that as children. It was very something that we always look forward to, on the other hand. And so one of the things that, as he mentions, all these principles about reading books, vegetarianism, basically how I took up vegetarianism is that we all have free will, and we do not have right to interfere in others' lives. It is not about right or wrong. It's just about the choices that we make in our lives. And not interference was one of the biggest principles that he taught us.
growing up. So, well, I grew up learning from different masters. Like, as you see, one of the biggest thing that PSSM and Himhe promotes is that we must listen to every experience. We must give the same value to any experience coming from every master. And that's one of the motto of every pyramid master here, is to share experiences. It's given the prime most importance, apart from reading books. Sharing experiences, reading books, and celebrating, like being in the forest. Like, he would organize hikings in the forest. Hundreds of people. We would just go into the forest, meditate, and celebrate. That used to be my summer holidays. So, well, that was my childhood, and now all the pyramid masters are committed to promote this message of PSSM, which is every person on the earth will have to meditate, work on non-interference, the principle of non-interference, vegetarianism, or plant-based food, whatever we call, and then connect with everybody. And that is also the mission of Pyramid Spiritual Societies, India or global. Every society, we are working on collaborating with every other master, such as you yourself, in taking this mission forward. So to fulfill his vision of seeing the whole planet being meditators in 10 years, in the next 10 years, and that is the reason, that is what we are all working towards.
Thank you, Baba.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. We all have to work toward that. We are very much aligned in our thinking.
Mm-hmm.
That's great, Pari. Thank you. And thank you, Patri sir. So we have around 10 minutes, Dana madam. So I have a few questions from our beloved viewers. So I'm going to take a few questions, and I think we'll keep it very much to time. One of the questions that has come from Geeta Sharma from Varanasi, India. She says, how can a modern age woman identify or relate herself in the current times with Mata Sita?
How can a modern age woman? Well, I think, Sita demonstrated great strength, great love, great compassion, great strength. And I think the qualities, a complete balance, really. To me, the relationship between Sita and Ram is a model for all of us in our relationships. This harmony and balance between the male and the female, where one is not overbearing, not the male or the female, because there could be a reaction where the female also is reactive to some of the repressions that women have gone through, and that's not healthy either. So how do we get over that and become strong and confident? I know it took me many lifetimes to be able to come into my own as a woman, to find my voice as a woman. It's been a long time in coming, and I think that's been a challenge for women. I think things are accelerating now, and things have opened up. But we also don't want to lose the special qualities that women have, the special gifts that women have. I think that women do have special gifts and have a special role in the healing of the planet right now. I have found, we go around extensively, until this COVID situation, talking about healing the planet. And inevitably, more women come to these gatherings than men. Women seem to be much more in tune with what's happening with the planet. Just generally speaking, it's always hard to make such fast statements, but I find that women feel connected to the earth in a special way. And so I think that we have a special role in this upcoming cycle, and how we can help with this transition. And so how to take Sita's message and really have the strength to manifest it in all aspects of our life. That's what we will have to try to. Each one of us will find a different way, I mean, for a woman just with a family, it's the food you put on the table, not just being vegetarian, but also healthy food, organic food without pesticides, clean food. There are many ways that we can manifest Sita in our lives.
That's great. Thank you, ma'am. One more question we have from Melbourne, from Madam Navina. She says we have entered into Dwapar Yuga as per the time cycle that you have shown in our ascending arc. Going forward through these times, what do you think would be our relationship with the nature as well as our spiritual development?
Well, there is definitely a spiritual awakening taking place on the planet, as you know, because of all the spread of meditation. There are other tendencies too toward this, development of artificial intelligence and how that could have it could be a positive force in helping us relieve us of some jobs, but it could also has dangers. And so we have to, in other words, the technology has developed faster than human wisdom. And so the Dwapara age is also called the electrical age because of the understanding of electrical energies. Treta Yuga is considered to be the age of understanding of magnetism, how magnetism works, and how to use that power of magnetism. So in this age, we will be advancing technologically very quickly, as we see. I mean, how quickly things change. But we have to develop the accompanying wisdom to use this technology well. And so I think, and that is a challenge because we could very easily, as a human community, destroy the natural world. We're kind of on the edge there. And so I think this COVID situation is kind of a pause. It's like, think clearly the direction you want to take. So I think the awakening of our love for the natural world and care for the natural world is of utmost importance right now as we move into this technological age.
Thank you very much, madam. I think we'll take one more question. Dr. Karthikeyan, I think he's here on this platform. Karthikeyan, sir, would you like to ask your question in person today now, madam?
Yes. Yes, thank you very much. It was a very enlightening and elevating discussion today from all of you. It was very beautiful. In fact, I came across this book only recently. I just gone through. I'm so impressed by the love, the need for gratitude and love for all, for the earth and all the plants and animals. There was one thing which was there. And I'm happy that Madam Dina is also associated with the Kriya Yoga. Is all my, and Swami Dayananda Saraswati interfaith movement. These are to me, having born in a village, myself going in a farm, what she has said is absolutely true and more relevant today than ever before. We have to respect the planet, otherwise where are we going to end? I want one small question. I am neither an expert in Valmiki Ramayana, or even I have not gone through the entire book or the new book also. I just want to ask, madam, is there any conflict or any difference between Valmiki Ramayana and this book? One. Number two, because you have said it is another Kanda of Valmiki Ramayana, and it was written much later by a different author. I want to know whether there is any point of difference anywhere, this harmony.
No, I mean, what the Valmiki Ramayana describes the outer events. They went from here, they went to there, they went to there. This is what happened on the outer field. What I was looking at is what was happening on the spiritual and the internally. What was Sita really doing as they wandered from place to place to place? And Anasuya, what was she really doing? What was going on there? So looking more at the spiritual dimension rather than a descriptive event of they moving from here to here. Yes, Sita was taken by Ravan. That doesn't mean that she was the victim. He describes that she was taken, but the way he doesn't go into her part in allowing that to happen. She allowed that to. Sita could not have been kidnapped without her agreement. It could not have happened.
Yes.
So she allowed that to happen for the greater good. She allowed herself to go through that suffering for a very specific purpose.
Yes, Patriji feels this is the greatest book in recent times, and I respect his judgment, and we will go through it with great interest and all that. And he also mentioned heart of Dharma is love, and the true essence of Dharma is also love. I do hope love prevails and we will get out of the present crisis and elevate the whole planet. Will make the planet happy, planet Earth happy, so that we can live happily. Thank you very much. Namaskar.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Karthikeyan, sir. Dina madam, before we conclude this question answer session, just one question out of curiosity. What is your next book coming up and what is it regarding? Are you in the process of writing it down or?
Well, I have two books. This book that I'm just finishing goes back to the Vedic era, and it follows successive incarnations, starting in Vedic India and then moving into China. And I've been deep in China trying to understand what this relationship is. And so it's both takes place in India and then China. And then there's another book that takes place during the Mahabharata War, and that is I've almost finished both of them, and they're deeply connected. Everything is connected. But I came to see that during the Mahabharata War, the real function of Krishna was to contain those weapons, which were mantra weapons, and that was the end of the use of the mantra. After that, they were withdrawn, because that could have devastated the planet. That war where those mantras were used. What are the Brahmastras? These are weapons that could, like atomic weapons, that could destroy everything, but not through a physical process, but through a mental process, through the use of vibration. And after that, it was withdrawn. But so that had been, I'd finished that book, and then I got this other whole series came to me of memories, and so I had to move into that. So I'll be coming out with two books, one by the fall and the other by early next year. And that one is called, it's about Rukmini, because that was Sita's next birth was Rukmini and the turning of time, because that was a shifting from one yuga to another. And so I've continued to dwell in this other universe.
Wonderful, madam. And we have thoroughly enjoyed talking to you. I'm talking on behalf of Patri sir and all the great masters from PSSM who have really enjoyed this journey along with your book in the last so many weeks. And especially me, I've been thoroughly having this great fortune to read your book and to share this wisdom. And thanks a lot to Patri sir for giving us this book in our hands and giving me the opportunity to share this wisdom every day, every moment. So with that, I really thank you on all our behalf for having spent this precious 2 hours of yours. We will be eagerly waiting for your books whenever they come next year, madam. And definitely, I know going forward, we'll be seeing you more on the PSSM arena as well as back in India. So that's a great pleasure for us that this is not going to be the last time we are going to talk to you. I'm sure we're going to bring you back on this platform time and again. So thank you very much to Patri sir, Dina madam, to all the PMC channels who are here working tirelessly behind the scenes and making this program so successfully. Thank you very, very much.
May you all stay well and healthy. Thank you.